Thank you. Thank you. It's really a pleasure for me to be here today in, let's say, a kind of new context for me. Yes, as was already said, I will share this presentation with Julie, but I want to underline the fact that this presentation is based on internal discussion, interaction, and contribution coming from different colleagues, Stan, Chiara, Chris, but also obviously Carlo and Sam contributed to the discussion. I will briefly present some, let's say, initial thoughts or initial reflection on C3S national user uptake, and then I will pass the floor to Julie for the Copernicus Thematic Hubb. Let's start with the first slide. Yeah, this slide really represents the 4 pillars that are the base for our strategy that we are developing internally to support the user to better uptake C3S products at national level. I will go through these 4 elements, let's say 4 pillars, but I will focus more on the first 2. Also because the other 2 are already presented, one by Chiara and the other one will be presented by Chris after this presentation. Some activities, all these elements will be, let's say, coordinated from C3S and at ECMWF, and there will be, for sure, some activities that overlap between these different elements. Let's start with the first one. This is user intelligence and the user uptake session. The overall goal of this action, let's say, is really to enhance our understanding of the user. So we call it C3S user intelligence. We want to better understand why the users are approaching our service, who are these users, and what are they looking for. And in general, we want to use this tool also, and again, to collect other user needs and other user requirements. This will be done with some, let's say, more detailed activities. First of all, we want to have a kind of very high-level screening of priorities at the national level that can be an interesting, let's say, indication for our development. And to do this, we will do interview, surveys, and what we call a user interaction session, where we want to map some core user with their requirements and with their needs. The main output of this action will be really to identify some key stakeholders with some specific short-term priority needs that will bring to develop further action, for example, the one that also Chiara presented before, or something that will feed into the C3S national uptake, or maybe some other needs that will be used as a discussing idea for more long-term development or investment, for example, in the research. Obviously, all these requirements will be used and will feed the C3S EQC. Concretely speaking, there will be an ITT that will be launched at the end of this year. The second element of my initial picture is the C3S National Uptake Pilot. Here, the idea is to do some small-scale grants with a co-design scope. Co-design meaning C3S and the member state. We have identified 3 possible approaches that are not mutually exclusive. We can select some country with well-identified stakeholders at the national level and on some specific topics. It's quite generic, but we are trying to identify all these elements. Or we can identify some countries that have similar needs. So we are going to focus on the topic, on the needs, to develop with this country some interesting project, let's say. Or maybe we can support some countries that have their own national ongoing activities, and ECMWF will have only, let's say, a role or advisor or a mentor in this case. All this strategy will be presented, obviously, through or via the Copernicus User Forum to collect a first feedback coming directly from the User Forum delegates. What we want to achieve with this project, capacity building at national level is a key element. We want them to support us also in for the European Climate Bulletin and for having joint communication activities. And this communication part was already mentioned in a different presentation today. We want to collect feedback on the use of the products and maybe also new requirements coming from them. And ideally, at the end of this process or during the process, we want to create a community of experts that work together and share the same experience and also can, let's say, comment on the same issues. We are not starting from the scratch. We have already some experience with the CAMS National Collaboration Program, and I want to underline with you what we have done in CAMS. The National Collaboration Program with CAMS is really to co-design tailor-made collaboration to improve the uptake of the products and really to develop some joint activities. For CAMS, we are going to have one program with 29 projects, one for each member state plus Norway and Iceland. And this should be seen really as a two-way process. From one side, you have CAMS providing data, products, support and expertise information. And on the other side, we want a national institutional administration that concretely uptake our products, give us their feedback on the use of the product, and improve the communication, where the key element is really the language at the national level. The National Collaboration Program in CAMS is really a well-defined element in the CAMS architecture and was discussed with the member state and with the Commission, and is really based on a strong request coming from member state. We're almost done. With the CAMS, we propose to the member state an à la carte approach, meaning that they can choose, they can pick up from different CAMS products and from different, let's say, modules, meaning activities or action that they can do with this product. So far, we are in contact with 18 member states. With the 4 of them, we are going to start soon, hopefully September or beginning of October, let's say the pilot project with Denmark, France, Germany, and Italy. And now we also start with all the others one-to-one discussion. Last 2 slides, I will also just mention the third point of the third pillar of my initial slide. This is for training. And Chris will present this after this presentation. So I only want to show that this is really part of an overall strategy. And then there is this development of application on demand. This was already presented by Chiara in the previous session. And it's important that all these 4 elements have the unique goal to improve our understanding of the user. Now I pass the floor to Julie for the Copernicus Thematic Hubb.
Thank you, Cristina. Oh, thank you. So I will present you what is the Copernicus Thematic Hubb. So yesterday was requested to have more synchronicity, more exchange, more collaboration between all the services, all the Copernicus services, and it's what we try to do with the different Copernicus Thematic Hubb. So why do we need a Copernicus Thematic Hub? Because when you have different experts from different areas, can be different service from Copernicus, but can be other discipline, it's always difficult to communicate in the same way. I have an example, an easy example, talking to a lady working on a health project for ESA. She said, oh, why in C3S you have 6 different 2-meter temperature? It took me 3 weeks to understand what was the difference. Telling the same story to someone from Lancet Content, and she said, oh, exactly the same question. So it's really difficult when you're coming from different areas to really understand what you're talking about. So it's what we try to do with the Copernicus Thematic Hub, is to try to find a way to speak the same language for all the different experts. Try to make the data in a way that everybody can understand, have the right information about it. So it's what we will do, doing kind of a Pierre de Rosette. So the Copernicus Thematic Hub, from how it's described on the technical annex between ECMWF and the European Commission, should be a single entry point for data, products, but not only. It's not a catalog. It's also information. It's user support. So for different team or geographical area, so you will see we are starting with one on health at ECMWF, but Mercator is starting with a coastal one, so which is a geographical more. We want to have simple access, simplified access for the user community. So we are not making a new service. We're not making something completely new. It's staying what is in every service, but we just group it together and we have it dedicated to some users. Is what we try to do. We will have 2 steps to this project. One is the proof of concept phase. So we have 1 year to do that with the health one. And after that, we will have the consolidation phase. We have different contributors to it. So as I said, it's a collaboration. So we have starting to speak with different interested entities. And the C3S camps are always participating to every service. So when we're talking about C3S and the Thematic Hub, it's not only the one who will be held by C3S, but it will be all the Thematic Hub in general, because even the one held by Mercator, C3S will be contributed, because each time is every service is going in it. We have also a coordinator at European level who will be the KCO. So our understanding of the Thematic Hub is to, as I said, provide access to Copernicus products in a simple, user-friendly, subject-oriented way, accessing user service, showing, Chiara said it earlier, that we need how to demonstrate to the pupils they need to use the data, how they can use it. So that is really what it will be relevant. And we should coordinate all that in a strategic way. So how is happening for the Thematic Hub on health? We have different steps, and you can see here is a timeline for the prototype, for the proof of concept phase. And we are, for that, integrating all the interested entities. You have the KCO, but also we are having an advisory board, because we are not health experts, so we can provide data on climate, we can provide data on environment, we can provide data on land, on whatever subject you want, but we are not the health experts, so we need the support of health people. Yes, I'm going quick as possible. We have, so as I said, for example, for health, we have the 6 services from Copernicus, and you can see we have already identified for each services few parameters we can use for our proof of concept, and you can see that actually what Chiara mentioned earlier is there for C3S. And in opposition, not in opposition, but in front, we have the user community is the one who are asking for this data. So we try to all be together and try to converge and find something that everybody can use it. And to transition is how keep to have some energy level when it's the end of the day, like now, and you want to finish to become focused on what we are doing. It can be in a healthy way, like taking tea. It can be less healthy and have a little bit of coffee. And so all of that is bringing you to maybe the potential next thematic hub we will have, and in C3S, which will be on energy. And you can see that energy is not just renewable energy and what we can do for the future, but it's also to evaluate how we are the non-renewable energy are influencing our environment, and but also linked with the transmission and distribution and also storage and consumption. So when you think thematic hub, just don't think, oh, I have one theme and it's really tiny. No, actually, it's really, really wide, and is why it will be a lot of work for all of us to do, and we're waiting for the user community to come to us. And with that, I'm stopping.